This video is brought to you by Hiawatha Hobbies. Hiawatha has you covered for all your model railroading needs, whatever scale or era you model. They have everything from Z to G. Be sure to check them out at the link in the description. Alright, hey guys, so today I'm going to be reviewing the ScaleTrains.com Gunderson 5188 covered hopper, both in Rivet Counter and operator versions. On the left of the screen, we have the operator versions in the KCS Black and the BNSF Brown. And then on the right of the screen, we have the KCS Tan and the KCS Black again. For the operator versions, MSRP is $29.99, and for the Rivet Counter versions, it's $44.99. So let's move on to the models. Starting off with the Rivet Counter models, these cars are equipped with free-rolling metal axles and metal wheels, and they have rotating bearing caps on the end of the axles. They also are equipped with ScaleTrains' metal knuckle couplers, which seem to operate fairly well. Although for my personal use, I would replace them with Katy couplers since that's what I have on the rest of my fleet, so that's what I prefer to use so that all the couplers are the same, so I won't have any problems. But if you're running a unit train of these, I see no reason why you should replace these since they seem to be working just fine. Let's start on the B end of the car. Here you have the coupler cut bar, that etched metal crossover platform, brake wheel, and all of those metal grab irons. You also have that ScaleTrains die cast coupler right here. Here you might be able to see that that draft gearbox that the coupler is in is actually pretty well detailed compared to other draft gearboxes that you might be able to see. There's also an air hose, which looks very good and is a nice touch. All around the B end of the car, there's all of this crazy brake detailing and brake piping, which is all separately applied and very well done. Moving on to the side a little bit, you can see a little etched metal piece right here, which is where you would pull the car if you didn't have a locomotive. You can also see the stirrup step and wire grab irons going up the side of the car. You may or may not be able to tell, but this bracket right here going across is not perfectly straight, and this grab iron seems to be broken out of its hole, so it's not perfectly straight either. So there are definitely a few quality control issues on this model, but it's nothing massive. Moving a little farther down the car, you can see all the safety striping, which is not reflective on this model. You can also see all of the printing, which is very well done, with the load limit badges and all of the warnings that go down the entire side of the car, including the Plate C badge right here. Here's the Kansas City Southern logo, which is very well done, and all of the lines around it are extremely sharp, and there's no real paint bleed on any of the lines. You can also see all this stenciling that goes around the entire car that just adds a little bit of detail to it. On the A end of the car, you've got pretty much the same detail, just minus all of the brake rigging that would have been right here along with the brake wheel. You have the etched metal crossover platform, die cast coupler, air hose right here, your coupler cut bar, and then there is a little bit of brake detail in here. Also on the ends, there's a KCS logo with the number, and then more warnings and more stenciling. Here's one of the bays where they would actually unload the car, and this whole bottom piece is separately applied to give it more detail. There's a bracket right here for where they would apply hammers to get everything out of the car. There's also a few stencils under here with instructions on how to open the hatch. Here you can see the detail on this hatch mechanism a little bit better with the little holes for where they would apply the wrenches to open up that hatch. As for truck detail, it's pretty good. You have a stencil here with the road number and road name on the side of the truck, and then here also the separately applied rotating bearing caps. Up at the top on the A end, there's this red wire grab iron indicating that there is a safety hazard here. Here's a separately applied fiberglass hatch, which is a really cool looking piece. It has all sorts of little painted details all over it to make it look really good and make all those small details pop. All of the painting lettering on the Rivet Counter model is extremely well done, and there weren't any weird separation lines in between decals or paint. Now let's move on to the operator one, which is the less expensive of the two at $25 versus $40. So at first glance, this car looks similar to the Rivet Counter one that we just had a look at, and that's because it is essentially the same car. It has the same tooling. The only differences are it has a few areas where the details have been left out to save on cost. For instance, it's not going to have all of the brake piping that the Rivet Counter model has, but it does have all of the brake detailing, so you can add the brake piping if you want to afterwards. And another thing is that it won't have the exact prototype printing or the exact prototype changes that might have been made per car, as again, it's trying to save cost. So it's a very good looking model, just minus some of the extra details that the Rivet Counter model has. Starting on the B end of the car, you have your trucks with the metal axles and metal wheel sets. You have a plastic coupler on the end of the car. Here is your walkway, which goes across, which is plastic versus the etched metal. And then you can also see back there all of the braking, just minus the extra piping. Now, being an operator model, it still has all of the grab irons, but instead of being metal, they're plastic. So they still look great, although the stirrup steps are made out of metal, so they're going to be more durable. All of the printing and lettering on the operator model was extremely well done, and I like how they have the KCS logo with the red outline. That looks pretty cool. I didn't notice any paint bleeding or weird separation lines in between decals or paint, so I think that Scale Trains did a really good job on the paint. Up on the top of the car, you can see your walkways, which are not etched, but they do have little places where you can drill to add grab irons if you want to. Here's the hatch down the middle, which is just painted silver, even though it should be painted white to represent fiberglass. That's just another way that Scale Trains can save costs and keep the model at a reasonable price. Down on the bottom of the car, you can see that it still has that bracket where they would apply the hammers to get all of the product out of the car, but it doesn't have all the decaling around it. Putting the Rivet Counter and Operator cars next to each other, you can clearly see which one is the Rivet Counter versus Operator. The Rivet Counter has all of the extra wire grab irons around the end of the car. It also has all that brake piping and this lettering here. While on the Operator model, it doesn't have any of that. Now, Scale Trains does sell a kit where you can add all of these grab irons and stuff if you wish to. From a distance, it is fairly hard to tell which model is which. They both look really good in their own respect. I think that for the price, the Operator one is really a good deal, and the amount of detail that's on the Rivet Counter one really warrants the $40 a car. Overall, I think that Scale Trains did a really good job on both of these cars. Now, for which one I would personally buy, I would rather go with the Operator one because I think that it looks just fine for the kind of stuff that I'm doing. Although if I were to really super detail my layout and have extremely realistic trains, I would totally go with the Rivet Counter one so that it matches in with some of the other super detailed stuff. As for operations, neither one of these cars operates better than the other, seeing as they're pretty much the same. Thank you guys very much for watching this video. Be sure to like and subscribe. And again, I will leave a link in the description to where you can buy these cars from Hiawatha Hobby's website.